What if the reason Trump is sweating under the collar has less to do with politics and more to do with a name that just refuses to die in the shadows? Epstein, yes? You heard that right. Welcome back to R&M News. And buckle up, because this just got real wild real fast. Trump may be hiding more than just his tax returns, because according to Senator Dick Durbin, 1,000 FBI agents were assigned to work around the clock digging through over 100,000 documents related to Jeffrey Epstein, specifically flagging anything that mentioned Donald Trump. Now that kind of manpower doesn't get deployed unless someone at the top is nervous. And guess what? Even some in the MAGA world are starting to raise eyebrows. 11 Republican Congress members joined Democrats to demand full release of the Epstein files, and in response, House Speaker Mike Johnson slammed the brakes and shut the House down until September to block any vote. It's a political shutdown that smells more like fear than strategy. Remember, Trump flew on Epstein's plane at least 7 times, according to court documents, which doesn't automatically mean guilt, but come on, if you fly with a known predator that often, you should at least lose your frequent flyer miles, or maybe get bumped to pervert platinum. And if you thought that was the end of it, no way. Trump's defenders came out swinging, like Tennessee Representative Tim Burchett, who basically shrugged and said, "Hey, a lot of people fly private, as if hitching a ride on Epstein's plane was like grabbing an Uber pool to New York." And you can't help but laugh when Burchett insists, with all that country charm, just because someone flew on a plane doesn't mean they're a dadgum pedophile. Well, no kidding, Tim, but it also doesn't help when you keep spinning like you're auditioning for a part in Deliverance. The point is, these guys are throwing everything at the wall, hoping something sticks. And all the while more from Trump's strange and disturbing past keeps resurfacing, like that 2006 Howard Stern interview, where Trump casually said he has no issue sleeping with 24-year-olds, and even worse, he fumbles a basic question about age limits and says, "I mean, I have an age, I don't want to be with like 12-year-olds." That answer alone should set off alarm bells, because when someone can't give a clear no to that kind of question, what else are they unclear about? And still, even as these headlines explode, Trump keeps trying to distract and throw red meat to his base, and their favorite dish is always grilled Obama. Out of nowhere, Trump starts babbling about how they caught Obama cold, whatever that means, claims they found irrefutable proof of sedition, except he says sedacious, which is not a word, but that never stopped. Before, according to Trump, Obama seduced the nation with long pauses in Netflix documentaries and then stole the election. Somehow it's all bizarre and getting more unhinged, like the fake AI video Trump posted showing Obama being arrested by fake FBI agents. While he grins like the Joker, the entire video is set to IMCA, because of course it is. Honestly, it feels like the kind of thing that gets regular people flagged by the FBI. But somehow Trump thinks it's just another day on Truth Social. Maybe he thinks the Village People are the actual police. Maybe he thinks Leather Daddy is a judge. The worst part is, he defended it publicly, saying whether it's right or wrong, it's time to go after people, not politicians, not corrupt leaders, just people. That should chill every single American to the bone. Because when a man with that much power says he's hunting people, and then posts fantasy videos of arresting former presidents, we are way past politics. We are in cult territory. And remember, this is all happening while beef prices are skyrocketing. That's right, beef now costs so much, you'd think it was aged in Louis Vuitton bags? And the USDA confirms, prices are at record highs, nearly 12% increase in 1 year, and Trump's trade threats to Brazil are part of the reason why Brazil exports lean beef trimmings to the US. And now, we may have to give up beef altogether and settle for something else, like a Kentucky butt lift. Finger looking good indeed, but the bottom line is this: Trump is doing everything he can to deflect, distract, and delay. But the walls are closing in, and the Epstein files aren't going anywhere, and no amount of AI videos or meat market inflation can change that. This is R&N News, and we are just getting started. So as the beef prices rise and the political temperature boils, America finds itself staring at a reality TV presidency that refuses to end, and Donald Trump is still trying to run the country like he ran The Apprentice, where loyalty means everything, truth means nothing, and every headline is a new audition. The role of victim-in-chief with the Epstein case back in the spotlight. Thanks to bipartisan pressure for transparency, even some of his most loyal defenders are squirming, trying to spin obvious connections into harmless coincidences. But facts are stubborn things, and court records do not lie. And while we cannot assume guilt based on travelogues or party invitations, we also cannot ignore the sheer volume of associations between Trump and Epstein over the years, from Mar-a-Lago gatherings to joint appearances, and even Epstein's own comments about their friendship. It all points to a much closer bond than Trump now claims. And when Trump is cornered, he does what he always does. He distracts, he accuses, he rants, and right now, his favorite scapegoat is Obama. Trump has decided that the best way to deflect from the intensifying scrutiny of his past is to accuse the former president of imaginary crimes, creating a fantasy where Obama is not just guilty, but arrested by fake FBI agents and AI-generated videos. Set to 70s disco hits. It's both ridiculous and dangerous. But it works for his base, who craves spectacle over substance. And then there's the language. Trump uses words like sedacious, which don't even exist, but carry just enough fire to without actually saying anything specific. He knows exactly what Hayes doing, whipping up a storm of chaos to drown out the facts, and now his social media posts have taken on a darker tone, with violent imagery, warnings about being hunted, and promises to become the hunter. The symbolism is not subtle, and neither is the threat. It's clear that Hayes trying to rally his followers around a shared sense of persecution, painting himself as a martyr under attack by the deep state while ignoring the very real questions about his ties to a known sex trafficker, the fact that Speaker Mike Johnson shut down the House to delay a vote on Epstein files speaks volumes, because if there's nothing to hide, then transparency should be welcomed, not blocked, and even more disturbing, how Trump supporters in Congress like Burchett continue to defend him with folksy excuses that sound more like stand-up comedy than serious governance. Saying things like just because someone flew on a plane don't make him no dadgum pedophile makes you wonder if Hayes even reading the same documents everyone else is. And while all this is going on, inflation keeps rising. Gas prices fluctuate, and food costs are through the roof. Americans are struggling. Instead of focusing on policies or solutions, we are stuck watching a political circus where the ringmaster is more concerned about AI memes and social media engagement than the well-being of the people Hayes is supposed to represent. And let's not forget the stern interviews from the past where Trump bragged about dating younger women, talked about his preferences in unsettling ways, and made comments that even back then felt deeply inappropriate, but were brushed off as part of his brand. And now, in hindsight, they take on a darker meaning, especially as more and more light is shined on his connections to Epstein. This is no longer just about politics. This is about character, about accountability, and about whether or not the truth can survive in a sea of spin. Misdirection. Trump is betting that he can outlast the news cycle, that he can exhaust the public with scandals until they stop caring. But Americans are smarter than that. They know when something smells wrong. The Epstein story is starting to stink more than ever. The flight logs, the pictures, the testimonies, and the sheer number of powerful men involved should be enough to demand total transparency. Yet here we are, being told to look the other way while Congress quietly recesses and the news cycle moves on. But RNN News is not moving on, and neither should you, because the truth matters and the victims deserve justice, not another political cover-up. The more we ignore it, the more we normalize it. And that is a dangerous path, because if this is allowed to fade into obscurity, then what message does that send to future abusers and those who protect them? The message is that power buys silence and fame grants immunity. But it should not be that way, and it cannot be that way, not in a country built on the idea that no one is above the law. Trump will continue to attack, distract, and deflect. He will blame Obama, the media, the deep state, and probably the village people before he ever takes responsibility for anything. But the documents exist, the connections exist, and eventually, the truth will too loud to ignore. This isn't about left versus right. This is about right versus wrong. And while the headlines might fade, the facts remain. The FBI review happened, the flights happened, and the attempt to block the release of files happened, and that should alarm every single American, regardless of party. Because justice delayed is justice denied, and if this case is buried under political excuses, then what else is being hidden? How long before the next powerful predator is allowed to operate in plain sight? We need to demand transparency, demand accountability, and demand better from those in power. The Epstein files are not just about the past, they are a warning about the future, and whether or not we have the courage to face it. And if we let this opportunity slip away, we will be complicit in allowing power and privilege to once again silence the voices of those who suffered in silence for too long. This moment calls for courage from our leaders, from the media, and from the public at large. Because covering up for the rich and powerful is not just a scandal, it is a betrayal of every value we claim to stand for, and if we do not act now, we will only see this cycle repeat again and again. So pay attention, keep asking questions, and do not let them bury the truth in distraction. Outrage. We at RNN News will continue to shine light on the facts, expose the spin, and stand with those who believe that the truth must come out, no matter how uncomfortable it makes those in power. And if you agree, if you believe in honest journalism, fearless reporting, and real accountability, then support our mission and help us reach more people. Like and subscribe.